Hi, it's Stephen Sharp, Our Learning Revolution. I saw the NBC nightly news the other night and I was horrified. At the beginning of the episode, they were talking about coronavirus deaths increasing and how we were in the middle of the second wave. And then at the end of the show, they switched segments and they started to talk about pandemic isolation impacting early childhood development. And I just thought I would do some research over the weekend and break it down for you and why I personally see the nightly news and the coverage of coronavirus and the impacts it's having. I have a hard time with it, and I wanted to share with you why. So here we see a chart that was updated, as I said, in the middle of November. And across the top, we look at the different deaths in the different categories. 234,000 total deaths. We can see towards the right, 106,686 deaths and 6,813 deaths. These are the two numbers that I'm really going to dig deeper and dive into. The fourth row is an estimated number of influenza and pneumonia deaths from the years 2005 through 2018. So in an average year, we lose about 60,000 Americans to influenza or pneumonia. So if we subtract that 60,000 number from the 113,000 deaths that we're having in these categories with corona, one number that's arguable is 53,499 more people have died this year in 2020 due to COVID when you include influenza and pneumonia. The next two numbers are also incredibly important. 18,682 are the actual number of COVID deaths for everyone under 55 years of age. This includes people that had already had heart disease, maybe were obese, had diabetes, any range of comorbidities, Alzheimer's. Under 55 years old, 18,682 people have died in 2020 due to COVID, regardless of their health. So here's the data, again, from the CDC website. You have the different age cohorts shown on the screen. When you add up all of these numbers, again, CDC data, 18,600 people have died from COVID, regardless of what was wrong with them in the whole year. Keeping in mind, we normally have 2.5 million people per year in the United States who die. 18,680. So from a learning perspective, and I am a behavior change and learning expert, it's important to make people sort of retrieve into or dig into their long-term memory to try and learn new information. So if you'll humor me, you can see here at the top of this peak, and again, this chart is right from the CDC website. Week ending April 18th, we had 17,000 deaths from coronavirus. My question to you is, how many deaths week ending November 14th, 2020 do you think we are having? Okay, these different question marks, the green one, the green question mark, the blue question mark, where do you think we are on this plot of data with the number of deaths that we're having per week because of COVID-19? Is it the orange one? Is it the black one? Is it the red one? Think for a moment. Well, actually, you might be surprised to know that I added some of that complexity on there and covered up the axes at the bottom. But this is the actual chart you will see if you go to the CDC website. That we did have this peak at April 18th of 17,000 deaths. But the week ending November 14th, we had 1,876 deaths. And that's coming down. But if we were to take that number and multiply it by 52, we would get a number approximately 92,000 deaths in the next 12 months due to coronavirus. That is only if we had the average of 60,000 from influenza and pneumonia from years 2005 up to 2018. We're only talking about a 50% greater mortality rate from coronavirus than the flu. So the questions that I would ask are, have we ever shut down all schools for the flu? Have we ever closed all non-essential businesses for the flu? And it's okay for an abundance of caution and to save even one life. But what I'm going to go to next is what the news is reporting of the impacts of coronavirus to school-aged children. So we'll take a pause here and regroup for a second, and we'll come back and look at the impacts and what parents of young school-aged children should be thinking about as they digest the death counts from the CDC website. What I'm about to read is directly from Dr. Bruce Lipton's website. For the first 6 years of life, children do not express the quality of consciousness associated with alpha, beta, and gamma EEG activity as predominant brain states. Children's brains primarily function below creative consciousness. In their highly programmable theta state, children record vast amounts of information. They need to survive in their environment, but they do not have the capacity to consciously evaluate the information while it is being downloaded. Anyone who doubts the sophistication of this downloading of young children should think about the first time your child blurted out a curse word picked up from you. I'm sure you noted its sophistication, correct pronunciation, nuanced style, and context carrying your signature. Prior to the age of 7, children record vast amounts of information needed for survival. As you watch the nightly news, as you put your mask on, your child's brain is in a theta state. The news reported that 70% of all children 5 years of old or over are worried, sad, and overwhelmed. 24% of children 5 to 11, 24% increase. I don't really like these rate of increase statistics, but more kids are going to the emergency room for mental health issues. The fact that someone has to go to the hospital for mental health that is 5 years old is a problem in and of itself. Your children's brains are in a theta state. When they're in preschool, when they're in kindergarten, working side by side with masks, what are those masks saying to your children? The theta state is a time when your brain is recording environmental dangers. So sending your kids to school, having them do Zoom meetings, what is your young child's brain recording? Your child's brain is in a theta state. Why should you care as parents? Because the way the young brain records information, it's likely your children will lead adult lives similar to those of trauma survivors. Let me say that again. It is likely your children will lead adult lives as trauma survivors. I live across from Pont City Market, and this slide shows the signs that are just all throughout it. And I want you to think about, as you participate in this COVID world, your children's brains are in a theta state. They record everything, and they don't have the ability to decide what is true and what isn't. And this becomes their unconscious programming that stays with them their whole lives. And they will be subject to self-sabotage, fears, a low belief in their own agency to do anything. I don't have children of my own. And I realize that everybody believes they're doing the right thing. But are you doing the right thing for your children?